Well, good evening, 3D printing community. Thank you for joining us for another episode of How Would You Slice That? I'm Vicky Soma, and with me I have Lawrence. Um, this episode's a little extra exciting because I it's our last episode before the 3D Printopia Festival in Maryland. And so I know that some of you watching I'm going to get to see in real life, and so that's pretty exciting. And one person I am definitely going to be able to see there is going to be Dr. Lawrence Nightingale, who is
Yes,
my
indeed.
co-host. Hi, thank you for joining coming again, Lawrence.
Oh, this has been well. I mean, it is appointment. It is appointment podcasting for me for sure. And I'm excited about the 3D Printopia. I wound up our last guest, of course, talked about the maker chips,
Hmm.
and so I went home to my home machine and I took the information down about how to make it, and you sent me some great links, and I resolved to make it. And it took some doing. Was not automatic, but I made my own maker chip for the first 3D printing and robotics club meeting at my college, and gave those out for students who were interested in talking about 3D printing and stuff like that, things like that. And um, it actually it actually was quite a hit on campus, so it was a good time with the maker chips. So wouldn't dare miss out on another episode of How Would You Slice That. So moving things forward, and we're really starting to get the community of 3D printing back together for this new year, and really excited about 3D Printopia. I thank you also for allowing me to invite Nova students to come out to
Oh
3D
yeah.
Printopia. I'll definitely be volunteering there, and it'll be I look forward to it every year. So yeah, how about you? How have things been going along in your maker world?
It's been a little busy.
Yeah.
Got a lot of balls in the air because, I'm one of the organizers at 3D Printopia. So
Yes.
we're, doing the kind of organization things, but there's a lot of things that I do want to participate in, like the 3D printed derby or the maker chips. And every year, my sons and I, we do derby cars. So I'm just trying to get all of those things done in time for the event. I think we're looking okay right now. I think we're good. I've got maker chips. I've got my layer connection rows for the community art project, and we've got
Oh.
one derby card printed, one mostly printed. It had a misprint, a clog at the very end, a heartbreaking clog.
Ooh.
And so, but we're going to restart that tomorrow, and then a convoluted derby car that we'll see if it's viable on
Works.
Thursday.
And how many chips do you think you got right now? How many did you
Oh,
crank out?
I got 196 right now.
Oh my gosh! How long have you been printing them?
Oh, I just start them on the little printer in the morning and get the kids ready for school. So I've just been doing like 12 to 24 a day.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, all right. Overachieving.
No, you should see it. There's people, they're like, I've got 1,000, I've got 500. I'm like, I'm going until I run out of tan or coyote tan rep cord. Then
Oh my
we're done.
goodness.
So I
Okay.
think I'm gonna finish in the next couple days.
Are you sharing or no?
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh, my maker coins.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give them out. Though, they're gonna do a scavenger hunt theme game, like a
Uh-huh.
maker coin maker chip madness, if I'm not mistaken. Liz can correct me in the chat.
Uh-huh.
If you want to get my maker coin, you might have to hunt me down, but I'm usually easy to find. I'm at the registration desk
Registration,
helping the
yes.
volunteers.
No, but I'm saying though, are you going to premiere your coin tonight? Can we
Oh,
see
show it.
it?
Oh, it's been all over
Has it
X and
really?
everything.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I've got pictures
Oh,
somewhere.
okay. I
So
don't
it's
think I
like
saw this version.
it's like
Yeah.
gray
Very
hair. That's what
clever.
it's
Very
supposed to
clever. I
be.
like.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Well, good.
All right. Well, are you feeling ready for our guest tonight?
Yes, absolutely. Yes, very much so.
Okay. Let me do my thing. All right. So it seems a lot of people in our community hope one day to work in the 3D printing industry, and tonight's guest is living that dream. He started his 3D printing journey like a lot of us, watching YouTubers, and in his case, he was watching Barnacules Nerdgasm and Joel Telling, the 3D printing nerd. He got his first 3D printer in 2016. It was missing a PTC connection, or PTC controller rather, and he had to rig it up with painter's tape, but he got it to work. And
Mm.
now 8 years later, he is working with substantially newer models. Not only does he work for a 3D printing company, he is the director of operations for one. And then, as you may know, we are fast approaching the 3D Printopia Festival, and it's going to support a lot of 3D printing events and competitions. And our guest tonight also happens to have consistent success in such contests. In 2021, he won the Prusa Research Maker Coin Challenge. In 2022, he won the Concours Show class for the 3D Printed Derby. And last year, his 3D Printed Derby vehicle placed second in the sponsored class race. So I also will venture, this isn't 3D printing related, but I venture to guess that if there was a competition for who can make the most intense peppermint soap, that he would place pretty high in that competition as well. So tonight we are welcoming soap making, derby designing, Prenn Solid's Director of Operations, Dustin Dixon. Flip over and grab him on.
Hey, what's going
Hi.
on?
Hey, Dustin.
How are you doing? Do you have any fact checks for my introduction?
No, it sounds great. I do really enjoy high levels of peppermint in my soap. Every time I make it, I go a little bit overboard just because it's nice, especially after a workout. Peppermint soap all the way.
Yeah, I myself enjoy a good peppermint soap. I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm up to your kind. I'll see if you have a bar. I'm up for trying it.
Okay, yeah, I'll bring one.
I have yet to experience the joys of peppermint soap, but now you guys have
Very
got me curious.
invigorating on the skin.
Absolutely. I'm definitely very fond of Halloween. It's one of my favorite holidays, but it's just like a Christmas bar. I swear, it's beautiful.
You know what? I actually might have a picture somewhere of this soap. If you want to keep talking,
Yeah, so I just like, buy that type of, the melted pour stuff, but
Mhm.
then I use some peppermint essential oils and it's like, oh, add 4 or 5 drops. And I'm just like, rip the top off the bottle and just kind of dump it in. Just because it's like it's never strong enough. But
Wow.
yeah, add a little bit of color and then you kind of just splash it in there. And that's just
Uh-huh.
like a soap mold that I had for forever. But yeah,
Have
that
you now?
was
Are these? Is it possible that these are 3D printed molds?
They're not 3D printed molds.
Okay.
Unfortunately, layer lines really have a problem pushing out.
Uh
So if
huh.
if I were to do something like that, I would want to actually do a buck, do a silicone casting, and then
Yes.
use that silicone casted thing to actually pull it out, just like that. That's like
just
perfect.
like yeah,
Yeah.
I did that
Uh-huh.
last week as a
Yeah,
proof of
those are
concept for
amazing.
my convoluted derby car.
Yep.
Oh, all
So
right.
that's we did a 3D printed, like mold box, I guess, my object and the box around it, and then used Amazing Mold Maker, which I learned about from Uncle Jesse on his YouTube channel. And then
Hmm.
it's not peppermint, Dustin, it's rosemary, but yeah,
Oh,
rosemary soap.
nice.
Oh, wow. Look at that, man. Okay. Wow. Well, look at you. And so, well, Dustin, thanks so much for joining us. You like Vicky was saying, you've been working in 3D printing industry for 8 years now. Is that right?
Yes.
Uh
No,
huh.
6 years at Printed Solid. Yep.
Oh my goodness.
Six
Okay.
years in July.
Wonderful. Wonderful. And what do you think is the biggest or most impactful thing that has happened since in your tenure working in the industry? What's the biggest thing that you think you've seen come through?
So, I mean, at Printed Solid alone, when I started, we were at 3 employees and we're up to 22 employees now.
Oh my
Um,
goodness.
it's basic. It's a considerable growth that we are continually running out of space and saying like, hey, can we get more space? Or figuring out ways and methods to actually stack things or organize in a different manner, just so we actually have enough room to operate. Um, but running out of space is good because it's just a consistent growth. Um, but there's been so many amazing changes in the past 6 years alone
Hmm.
in the 3D printing world that there's a lot of things to count on.
It's hard to put your
Yeah,
finger on one.
right.
Well,
Now,
absolutely.
um, before you even worked at Printed Solid, weren't they like a little crucial part of your 3D printed journey? 3D
Yes.
printing journey?
So I actually, I was watching Barnacules and Barnacules is Nerdgasm and the 3D printing nerd Joel Telling. As I was watching them, I was really looking into doing cosplay type of stuff, where like, making helmets and making masks. I was doing a lot of that with fiberglass. I was using Bondo. I was going to the auto parts store and using that to make, Pepakura. And I was like, there has to be an easier way. And there already was. Everybody was already doing 3D printing. And I was really into it. And then as I was watching one of Joel Telling's videos, he said, if you're going to be in Newark, Delaware, come see us at the 3D, Printed Solids grand opening this Saturday. And I was like, I'm in Newark, Delaware. I'm sitting right now in Newark, Delaware. I'm like, this rewound the video twice just to, make sure. And then that's actually the first time I met you
Yeah.
at that grand opening.
And
Um,
here we.
yeah,
Wow.
I don't think you're
I,
in this
I am.
picture.
I'm
Oh, you
right there
are?
to the right with the hat on.
This one? But I
Yep.
thought you would have a baby carrier with you.
No, so my that's my ex-wife right next to me. She actually has the baby carrier
Okay.
on.
Oh, there you
And then
Probably because Lacey got fussy.
this
go.
is that's Joel
That's
Telling.
Joel
Joel.
Telling right there.
That's the back of Joel Telling.
Wow.
Don Daggett is
Yep.
here. Yep.
And that was our old Printed Solid building. This is 2850 Ogletown Road. Now we're at 2860. We moved a little bit up the street into a different area, and we've been there for about 5 years at the new location.
Yeah.
And I would almost say like this to me was a good predecessor to 3D Printopia or East Coast Rip Rap Festival because, I had done maker fairs before, but the Printed Solid grand opening, you didn't have to explain the basics of 3D printing. You could just have higher level conversations, which was kind of empowering.
Yeah, this was a
Very.
really cool hangout, and
Yeah.
seeing what people had and being like, wow, yeah, I can't believe, you could do this. There were so many amazing things that were right in front of you to make it real life. And my printer was actually at this show. My first printer was actually at the show in the corner with a little sign that said for sale. And I was like, that was the one I was looking for.
What kind of was that? Was that wasn't a
Oh,
CMCNC,
there you
was
are.
it?
Yeah, it was so right behind, like, if she would have turned around, did a 180, it's right behind her. That's where it was
Oh,
sitting at.
Towards
oh
where
wow.
the bathrooms were, I think.
Yep, yep,
Oh
right in that
yeah.
corner.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
And then I think this is Cole Hastings Goldstein over here, his booth, I think, somewhere in this area. And
Yeah,
he designs one of the trophies that you won.
yep, yep, one of these guys.
So, and then this is my little one. He's 13 now, but he loved Joel Telling and giving him high fives.
Wow. Oh, that's cool. Man, it seems collectively it seems so long ago. Like 6 years ago, I mean, I think that just about everybody was still using 8-bit. 6 years
Yes,
ago, thumb drives and mini discs. You know, 6 years ago, you know, fine details and very few people were messing around with with SLA.
yeah,
And now
auto bed leveling was just like
just starting.
just getting in, yeah, just getting noticed.
Yes,
Because
yes, yes.
everybody was leveling, manually tramming their own beds.
And burning their fingers.
Yeah,
Yes.
for sure.
Did how many Greg's weight extruders did you have?
You said graduated extruders.
Greg's weight extruder.
I
You
don't
weren't
think
familiar? Never had
I
one of
don't,
those.
I
Okay.
don't think I had one now.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Well, CBC
After my CME CNC, I started getting into the Creality stuff. So
Mm-hmm,
CR10s and then
mm-hmm,
Ender 3s. I
mm-hmm.
had a wave of those for a while, and then I went to the MakerBot. What were they called? The CTC Bisers,
Oh,
which was kind of like
was
a
that their
different.
laser?
No, it was a 3D printer, but it was like the MakerBot printer. The same. I don't want to say it's like the Replicator 2, but
Okay.
it was an obviously cheaper made model, so like to get people into it.
Uh-huh.
But it had that same style, double X carriage, um,
Yes.
with the two hot ends. One never worked because the heat creep was so bad on it.
Uh-huh.
Um, but yeah, I had a bunch of those, and then
Oh.
I think I got my first Prusa when it was MK3S, and
Uh-huh.
then I was
Oh,
like,
okay.
I'm done with the Enders, I'm done with the Creality, and now I have
Yeah.
6 Prusa MK3S Plus, and then I actually have an Elegoo um, Max. I forget exactly what it's called, but it's the big Elegoo to print,
Uh-huh.
really really big stuff.
Wonderful. Wow. Yeah. And so well that I mean, so you're definitely a practitioner and you work in it. Sometimes like, I used to do you ever feel like you've gotten inundated with 3D printing stuff, or has it just gotten to be part of your everyday life now? Is that
Yeah, it's pretty much like as soon as someone shows me something in almost every way. I'm like, I could 3D print that, and then I go off and model it and like 3D print something. Um, it's kind of a daily conversation of, you know, I was doing at work before, at Rena Center's National Product Service. We were doing some type of 3D printing there where we were actually repairing a lot of things that would otherwise be thrown in the trash.
Mhm.
We would 3D print parts for it and actually put it back in rented service after
Nice.
testing and everything. But I've
Mhm.
also done that inside my own house where I broke the little pegs on my where in my cabinet to hold my dishes up, and I
Mhm.
was like, oh, I could just print one of those little pegs out, and then
Mhm.
they've been there for like 5 years now and haven't had a
All
problem
right.
with them. PLA,
We
you know.
we had success fixing a bidet with 3D printing.
So many ways to celebrate that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Wow. And so now, you talk about design. I think that for many of us who are practitioners, and Vicky's excluded, of course, and you're excluded. I have to include myself in this, and that I am not well versed in design. I'm not a designer. I definitely am much more of an output person. So how did you come across your design skills?
So I actually started back in the day. We actually didn't have Fusion 360. We had
Mm,
123D by Autodesk. It was a free
uh-huh.
program to use. It was my favorite program to use, and I knew my way around it very well. It was almost like Tinkercad mixed with Fusion. It's kind of like the best in the middle to think
Oh,
about it.
really? Uh-huh.
Um, and when that basically went away with the launch of Tinkercad and Fusion 360. It
Got
was
it.
no longer supported. You can still download it. It's just not supported anymore. It still works
Uh-huh.
great.
Mhm.
But Fusion 360 has been such an uh, eye-opening platform for me to use.
Mhm.
I was watching Chaos Cortec on YouTube, and I
Ah,
don't remember what video it was, but he mentioned that if you go to the pan, tilt, zoom and change it to Tinkercad, it just feels more
Oh.
natural in the way to move things around, and it did. It clicked for me instantly. It was just like I was using 123D, and then
Oh,
after that, it was finding out all the newest, latest, coolest features that Fusion had to offer.
got it. Oh, okay, wonderful.
And I'm not no
Good.
fancy like keystroke. I see a bunch of people hit their keys, and I
Uh-huh.
click every button and go through slowly. I don't have the only one I can do is move. I hit the M key from time to time, but that's about it.
Mm. Well, you're far more advanced in your design skills than I am. I'm hoping my daughter can help me learn that skills. If she says she's interested in something, then I teach it to myself. Otherwise, I just let it kind of keep on going.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing I keep telling people is to find something that you want to try to design and just try.
Good
Even if
yeah.
point.
you fail, just give it a shot.
Hmm.
Even if someone already has the file, which is another thing I stopped myself from designing because I'm like, I'm going to design this miniature forklift to hold the pallet for the thing that you get from Uline. You actually get a Uline pallet of sticky notes, and then I
Okay.
went on printables, and there it was, and I was like,
Hmm.
okay, I was going to spend a lot of time designing this, um, but
Yeah.
I do still try to challenge myself, just to kind of see and play with features that I'm like, what does this do? And then start moving things around. Um,
Hmm.
you can also some people also I try to drop my F3D files as well, but then go in there and kind of see how people actually
Got to it.
did certain steps or
Hmm.
made something work in a certain way. It's really interesting and being like, wait, it went from this to this. How did they all of a sudden do this kind of loop here? Um,
Mm.
and this figuring it out by just backtracking steps is really a nice way of kind of helping yourself learn backwards. There's a
Mm.
good amount of YouTubers that go over Fusion 360 really
Yes.
well. Chaos Cortec is somebody I do recommend. Even their older videos are still great. Um, but
We had Desktop Makes on a number of episodes ago, and he has some phenomenal Fusion 360 tutorials.
yeah,
Yeah. Absolutely. And so in your designs, would somebody be able to kind of look backwards and look at some of your projects and kind of work the same
yeah.
work through backwards as well?
So like, when doing the Derby cars, that was kind of a challenge for me the first time just because
Hmm.
I procrastinated doing a derby car in the first place. The first time I ever did it, I was like, I gave myself a week to do the car. And I was like, I have to build this car in 1 week. I took a block of the dimensions that are given on the 3D Printopia website. And then
Hmm.
I kind of did the same thing because I did do Pinewood Derby and Boy Scouts. So I
Ah.
just did the same thing where I was, you know, sketching and just removing the different sides of, oh, I want this curve to my car. I wanted to have this curve, and then I tilted it this way, and I was like, I want it to have this shape. And I kind of cut it at the angles of the top, side, and front views, and then back
Hmm.
views, and then change it up just a little bit more, just by adding extra pieces and little tiny flourishes. But
Oh,
this was my first design car, and it's not my I don't want to say it's not my favorite model, but this one I was definitely struggling with modeling when I was doing it.
hmm.
I had no idea what I was doing, and I was just like, I'm just going to kind of keep cutting this up and doing this. And then when I sliced it and 3D printed it, it's a brick. It didn't make it into any of the classes because it
Too heavy.
was so heavy that
Hmm.
Ah,
I was immediately like, nope, just take it back to your booth. You're good.
I had the opposite trouble where I would have to like everything was so light that I would have to put in holes for weights to make my cars be able to go down.
But now what's great is that, polymer density is generally listed on the material, and then you can input it into your slicer. And when you're slicing, you can change your infill settings to actually accommodate for the weight a little bit better. Um, and then, there's some tricks you can do to actually get the weight where you want it at. Um, my trick mostly is piecing things together. I like to add extra parts. Um, that look pretty, and then also have, different places where I want my weight at.
Oh, all right.
Do you know, I don't want to put you on the spot, but can you do you mind sharing the polymer density tip? Because that was new to me, and that seems like it would
Oh,
be helpful to me.
so there's a big thing about polymers that there's density changes. So metal fills are the heaviest and most dense polymer that's out there, and I keep saying polymer, but mostly I'm speaking on PLA and PETG. All polymers have different densities, but um, you'll find out that a lot of people what they do is they have an empty spool and then they weigh what they got, and by doing that, they're able to come up with the weight of the material and the actual density and how much it weighs. Uh, Putting that into your system and then saying that 1 kg of this equals this, and it will calculate for you when you're actually inside your slicer. So that way, when you're slicing, you can actually change it. there are many things that actually change density, like colorant and fills.
Yes.
Glow fill, a lot of people think is just a regular standard PLA, and it's like that's a metal fill actually, because
Mm.
strontium aluminate is a metal that will grind up your brass nozzle, um, but it does have a little bit heavier density than standardized PLA as well.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense that it's metallized because it's notorious for breaking down brass nozzles, just like you said. So, yeah,
Yep.
thank you for bringing that to the fore. It's got metal in it, and that's why it glows. And it's interesting when you say the density. You have an empty spool, then you have a brand new spool. But I suspect that you would have to either take and measure a certain length of that spool in order to kind of figure out,
You
like
can
you.
get more accuracy by doing that, but generally speaking, you take as a kg. So you say this is a kg of material,
Yeah.
and as we do make filament, um, our filament is over a little bit more than 1 kg, just because there are
Oh,
people who weigh their material, and you want to make sure that people have enough material so that when they weigh it, they're like, I didn't get a full kilogram, because the amount of colorant inside will actually, you know,
very.
our natural is technically our lightest material. It has no colorant additive to it. And then
Hmm.
there's other colors, I would say white. White is actually the most color dense material, but the colorant that's normally used is titanium oxide. Titanium oxide's not abrasive, but it's heavier in colorant to get that white color out. Um,
Wow.
and I say heavier in color, and I'm saying it's heavier, but it's not because it's titanium oxide. But there are other colors that actually end up being a little bit heavier than the others. And I mean, it's very slight and very difficult to actually see if unless you're measuring by the gram,
Yeah.
or
Oh, there you
milligram,
go.
trying to find that information.
There you go. Oh, well, thank you for that. Thank you for that. Yeah.
Yes, this is
Learn something
like
new you got to learn something new every day.
instantly. You've already earned your keep, Dustin.
And that's the biggest thing is learning this stuff has always working at Printed Solid. I started shipping. After that, I started doing some more things in regards to repairing 3D printers at the shop. And then I ended up getting into support where people would come up with questions. And I've always been that type of person that if you ask me a question, I don't have the answer. I'm going to dig until I find it. And that's really where most of my education comes from. I mean, I had really great mentors with Matt Gordon and Dave Randolph, just absorbing everything that they were saying and, seeing it and, watching everything that's been going on from us not having an extrusion line to having an extrusion line. Uh,
Hmm.
I bug. Um, that there's a lot of things even when making filament that you have to consider, temperature differences and everything per spool, where
Ah,
everything actually matters in between the the yeah, I do too.
This is if you're just listening, it's RC Maniac 25 saying he remembers arguing with Dustin about filaments.
great taste versus less filling. I have that conversation all the time. Yeah.
Watch it.
Yeah. Can we divert a little bit to it's not as heavy, but can you tell the story of your 2022 Derby car? This one here?
Yeah, so this derby car was supposed to race. I was supposed to put this on the track and get it to race. As you can see, I kind of lost the back part. It fell off the shelf because we actually keep this in our showroom at Printed Solid along with the trophy that came with it for the concourse class that I
Yeah.
won. Uh,
Nice.
I was really surprised when they called my name and ran up there, but I actually put my last name in Arabish in the back. Uh, this car is actually, a land speeder design of my own, um, because I'm a big Star Wars fan, and I really have kind of kept with the Star Wars theme because my last year card was also an MSC droid, um, or mouse droid. But this piece is actually, completely pieced together for the different colors, using golden winter and using our gunmetal gray. but this is the standard body of it, with the indent holes and everything to actually hold the pieces. This part
Hmm.
here I glued on already, but it actually gets forced into there. So they're all individual parts. I didn't do any multicolor printing. I printed them as separate pieces, as I kept them in separate pieces in Fusion. But I did do some. I forget what the pattern is there, but I did change it up and make sure my top layer.
Oh, the concentric maybe? Or
Yes,
here,
yep, I
hold
think
on.
that
I'll
is
throw this
concentric
one
fill.
on. We can zoom in. I think it might be concentric.
And with the golden winter is like one of our heaviest glitter filaments that we have. It just
Hmm.
was able to kind of shine that light and kind of show different, give it even more detail than it actually had just by using that pattern.
I like
Now,
the matching too.
this car you originally designed to race down the track, correct?
Yes. So as you can see on this model, a big thing I kind of want to point out to folks is that you definitely want your axle to be as close to the bottom as possible. Um, to the point, my MSC droid did race, and you can see that I kind of had to solder, kind of weld it to the bottom because I opened it up a little bit too much. But these wheels at this height was way too high. So it basically hit the rails and just stopped immediately on
Hmm.
the track. And then they're saying, well, it can't race, so you might want to put it in the concourse class. And I was like, okay, sounds good. And I just kind of put it over there and, went to go work the show and then was called up later for winning the first place in the concourse class because it's a community vote. Everybody gets a ticket to vote and they actually drop it into who they voted for. Someone's like, you cheated because everybody likes Star Wars. And I'm like, yeah, but I kind of going to keep that theme going anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been a good design. I love doing the Star Wars stuff. A lot of Star Wars stuff.
So there's two takeaways that I like from Dustin's story, and I'm sorry this is so small, but uh,
Mhm.
this is when you go to the 3D Printopia website, they do have a 3D printed derby car rule page, and you'll notice the stock class does have a lot of rules. These are pretty much they mirror the Boy Scout rules. With some of the, I think the one exception is we have a lower limit of weight too, because the Boy Scouts are saying your car needs to be 5 ounces or less, and we made it like I can't remember what it has to. I think we have to weigh at least an ounce or something like that because our first year where we're doing it, we had so many cars that were so light they weren't finishing. And I think how I do it, you're in the chat. Did your car was your car one of the ones that didn't make it all the way down because it was so light? Um, but anyways, it is rather intimidating and but Dustin did point out a hack that I do, which is start with the block that the Boy Scouts start with, and then and the dimensions are right there. So you're starting with the block. That's just like their piece of wood that they're doing, and build off of that. And so the main things that I would check after that is they do have a clearance that you want to do to make sure that here it is, the center rail width, to make sure your car is a certain amount, 44.5 millimeters up above. Uh, so it will clear that center rail that got Dustin's car disqualified there. But um, and yeah, but other than that, I think it's a super fun thing to do with my children. We've been designing cars since 2018 together. We're still doing it now. I'm not sure they're getting to be tweens and teenagers. I'm not sure when they'll outgrow it, but we're having fun and milking it while we can.
Yeah.
Um, but I just want you to know your barrier of entry. Like, if you fail, if you mess up one of these settings, you just
Right.
throw it in the show car class and maybe you'll win and you'll get a really super cool trophy too. So,
Yeah, and I think that's the coolest part is not even if you don't win, just seeing what other people are designing and making into the same realm of, is really awesome just to kind of see. And, if you're able to talk about your own car and how you or ask for tips on like, yeah, try to do this. And it's like that's what 3D Printopia is about. It's kind of like it's a convention, it's a show, but it's a hangout, and you get to talk to people who are doing the same stuff you're doing, which is a really awesome place to be.
Yeah. And it is, I know we're 10 days from the event, but this is something that you can do in a weekend. And Dustin purposely challenges himself to do it in 7 days.
Yeah, my first car I did in 7 days due to procrastination, and ever since then, every time we've had and the Earth or now 3D Printopia come up, I don't design my car until 1 week out on purpose. Just to rush and challenge myself and put myself through the ringer, but I also learn new things. I think one of the coolest things that I did was this little fuselage here. Um, there's actually when you're extruding in Fusion 360, there's an arrow and then it comes up with like a kind of like a radius. And I
Mm-hmm.
just like, what does that do? And I just turned it, and that's actually how I formed this not cylinder by bulging out from. I started from one circle, and it was an extrusion of multiple times, and just manipulating that radius a few times because it actually expands outward or doesn't expand. It goes inward, and
Mm.
then made that. Did this little sketch on the end here to create a weird little shape, and that's actually support. It's support and stringing, on not on purpose, but after it was done, I was like, I'm going to keep that there. It looks pretty good,
Oh, cool.
It's not a
That's
bug,
awesome.
it's a
Yeah.
feature.
right?
Learning and it pushed you to learn another feature in Fusion 360, which is the whole idea. And really one of the strengths of doing 3D printing is that if you have a goal in mind, you wind up learning so much while you're advancing towards that goal. And the machines are always available to help us, either adjust, amend, or improve on what it is that we've done. So that really captures, the practice of 3D printing very well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
Dustin, oh, sorry, you
I was
go.
going to say, being able to grab something that already exists and then making something on top of it is really helpful because you're able to, measure out, the electronic parts of these buttons and everything,
Uh-huh.
and then design on top of it because it's really pushing you to get to that X, um, to that actual part. As the buttons popping out to that actual part that you're looking for. We're gonna be dropping controllers, still gonna be dropping controllers for the room build that I'm doing. I do have a little bit. Got my Death Star panels behind me,
Nice.
so I'm building a whole arcade cabinet, 3D printing all types of greeblies and stuff.
Oh, wow.
Someone suggesting that you do a Star
There's Star
Destroyer this
Destroyer.
year. Do you
There's
already
volume.
you already have a vision of what your car is going to be this year?
I don't actually know what I'm going to do this year. I do have some idea. I know it's going to be in the Star Wars theme, but I haven't pinpointed exactly. I've actually thought about doing another land speeder, but just changing up even more, adding some more flourishes and stuff. Maybe adding a R5 or an R2D2 unit to it as well.
Mhm.
Because the Mandalorian had one that was driving it, self-driving
Mm.
land speeder.
Yeah. I was just sitting here thinking about the different vehicles that I've seen in the Star Wars universe the last year or so, and I'm trying to come up with some. I'm trying to remember something that is more impressive than a land speeder. I'm not quite there yet. The closest I've got right now is Amidala's spaceship, but that's kind of too long and too wide to really be really work for this
Unless
one.
you put it in the concourse show car,
There you
you don't
go.
have to have the same dimensions and everything.
Good
Yep,
point.
you can go a
And
little
then
bit
Yeah.
farther.
yeah, um, how I do it. Oops, wrong one. How I do it. Did comment that did stick out to me, which is, he still has his Friday night 3D printing community hangout car that he does. And I mentioned we do cars every year with my sons, and we have a little shelf, or we have multiple shelves going up our stairwell where we keep all our cars. And it's almost like a time capsule, a snapshot of what they are interested in
Wow.
at the time. Like, for example, in 2018, my youngest had a Peppa Pig car, which I think he would probably find cringe right now. And then
Uh-huh,
he
uh-huh.
had a whole bunch of Minecraft cars. And then this year he's going to Skyrim. So we'll have like those little, how parents sometimes will buy a Christmas ornament to, denote the child's year. I guess we're doing ours
Yeah,
with derby
with
cars.
derby cars. Yeah,
right.
that's
Yeah.
awesome.
That is great. That's great, and it's a great way for them to get into the hobby and to learn a skill that's marketable, which is design and also a little bit of engineering, but not too terribly much.
Yeah. My oldest son, he did his whole car himself in Tinkercad this year. And
Oh,
Wow.
that's
actually,
awesome.
here, hold on. In 20, 2022. So
Oh.
this is my oldest son did in Tinkercad, and we had to elongate it and do some changes to make sure that it would fit on the track. And then, you talked about challenging yourself,
Mhm.
Dustin. Oh, that doesn't. This one here, my youngest son, this green one here, my youngest son, he was adamant, like, I don't want a derby car this year. I don't want a derby car this year. I don't want a derby car this year. And then 2 days before the event, he's like, I want a derby car. So this, luckily, the
Ah,
Minecrafter dream has a very easy avatar or very easy Minecraft skin to whip out really fast. So
Yeah,
that
that's so
worked out.
awesome.
and what's great about that also is that you've got the multicolor going there too, which is um
Oh
I,
yeah, and this was, before the days with, it's just layer swaps and everything.
yes, yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Yeah.
But I think with that Wordle, I had a Wordle car. This was in Simplify 3D, which I can't pull up on this laptop.
Hmm.
But what I was very proud of was I angled it on the bed. So
Mm,
all of the layers were, nice, and I could do my
parallel.
layer slots, but it could still be like an angled face at the top.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. That is cool. Yeah, yeah. You can definitely see the iterations of the skill and the development as you kind of put these things together. And I'm glad that 3D Printopia is a platform for us all to be able to do that kind of thing. So yeah.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, yes, yes. And so what's interesting that Dustin, about Star Wars stuff. I started a 3D printing lab at Nova in 2017. I think that's right. Maybe it's 2016. But I started a 3D printing lab here, and one of my rules was that I was like, one of my rules was no Star Wars stuff.
I would have the opposite rule.
Yeah, I've since amended my rule. I wanted students to come in and do things that were going to be maybe a little bit more less entertainment oriented and more oriented towards like community service or learning how to develop a skill or something like that. But I've since kind of come all the way back to the dark side. 3D printing of Star Wars stuff. I've seen it as very much of a way for students to kind of engage with the technology, and even though it skews to the realm of pure entertainment, it's you're still learning how to do 3D printing. So yeah, nowadays we did a fundraiser, and one of the best selling ornaments that we sold was Baby Yoda. Baby Yoda, that was just as the Mandalorian was coming out,
Yep.
and it was a Baby Yoda ornament. That one did really really well. We had just gotten wood filled filaments, and so it was one of those things where that was perfect for the jacket. And we did the head separately, put them together. So Star Wars is a good platform for capturing imagination. Yeah.
Yeah, and I would, jump on that and say, like they say the best exercise program is the one that you're going to do, right? And I
Right.
think the
Yeah.
best way to learn 3D modeling or 3D printing is design the things that you're going to
You
design,
like,
that you're
yeah,
passionate about or that you like. And
right.
even if it's someone else has a model out there, if it's helping you learn the process and you're passionate about it, then go for it.
Yeah, and I adopted that after the pandemic. After the pandemic, I adopted that positioning on it, and it's served us quite well. Served us quite well.
Yeah, because there's a lot of things that, in entertainment when printing stuff is you get, because again, I came from wanting to print cosplay items, wanting to,
Hmm.
I was going to be this cosplayer guy with my 3D printing, and mostly I'm printing trinkets and then parts to, fix something, repair something, make things a little bit better. Like, oh man, I wish I could have something to hold my remote right next to my bed right here. Then I go 3D print the part and put it up there. I want to
Hmm.
put my controllers on the wall. Now it's a 3D printed part. It goes from, yeah, I print, you know, little porgs and stuff, but at the same time, I'll also turn around and print something that is a little bit more useful and something I can actually use in my day to day.
Yeah, absolutely. The skill merges with the necessity, and you and everything kind of high tide raises all ships. So yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. So I had to be brought. I had to be had to kind of be shown the light on it. You know.
Yeah, this
Yeah.
Uh,
this crystal design was actually, I found a lamp, one of them normal like dorm lamps that you kind of get for real cheap at Walmart or whatever.
Uh
Somebody
huh.
just tossed it out. The bowl thing was broke. Not the bowl thing. The top part was broken on it, but the light was still able to work. I designed a flat piece to go over top of the bowl, and then the crystals that actually sit in there. A light bulb will fit inside here, and I used a rainbow glow fill. So
Oh,
instead of using the hardened steel nozzle, I just tore up a brass nozzle. But I finished that print. It came out great, and then we put a RGB bulb in it, and when you turn the light off, it actually glows in the dark
with
with
the
that
heat from the
rainbow glow fill, which was,
wow.
basically
Oh my goodness.
making something that's trash into something usable.
Right. Absolutely. And I mean, you said, but you've definitely got a level of skill for doing that I think is pretty unusual. You're a little bit of an outlier as far as that's concerned, and so congratulations on the real world kind of utilization and deployment of design of 3D design. It's a excellent skill, and you've been obviously you've been using it and employing it for since you were at RAC, which is amazing.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. And so what is your you've mentioned several materials, you've mentioned glow in the dark um and the different colors and things like that. Do you have a material that you feel is the most like what's the most innovative material that you've worked with in the last year or two, would you say?
Ooh, the most innovative material I've worked with. Um, so for the most part, I print PLA and PETG, and most of it is Jesse PLA or PETG from Printed
Hmm.
Solid. Um,
Yes.
I want to say the most innovative thing that I've actually saw printed was at the Rocky Mountain Rep Festival,
Hmm.
and she was using it was Protopasta's electrically conductive filament.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Um, and she was actually making odd shapes, like really weird looking shapes, and doing a different style of pattern on the inside. Like, so when you touch it, it would give a different resistance to every
Oh,
single one. And those different resistances were able to provide feedback for, and she was telling me all the applications it could be useful. And I was like, this is mind blowing. I was like, I've seen a lot of 3D printing from going to these shows and like just research in general, but this is probably the most innovative. And she won like the most innovative, person at the show or something like that. But
wow.
that was probably the most innovative, way I've seen 3D printing being used
Wow. Okay.
in that way.
Wow. Thanks for sharing that. Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you have a certain shape and you can measure the resistance, you can get all kinds of outputs based
Yeah.
on what's going on
Yeah,
around
because
it.
like it just like length of wire, as the wire gets longer, the resistance value changes. So she was doing different patterns of you could see it because she was using translucent filament, so you can actually
Oh,
see the different traces inside and everything. It was really incredible thing to see.
wow. Cool.
I think I have a roll of that conductive filament, so that might
That
encourage
might be
me
something to
to
test out and,
try out. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I don't want to steal thunder from you, but we had someone wanting to see the Skyrim themed car. So I'll just
Pop
show.
that back
Well,
up.
yeah, I have,
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
and this
nice.
is um just a sign of the times. And my kids are growing up. They used to like this young one when we did the Peppa Pig car. He was sitting like next to me or in my lap, and now we're designing over Discord. So I'm like, hey, do you like this better or worse? But this is what we're kind of ending up with the logo on the top and the white run seal on the side. And if I
Hmm.
remove it, we've got, oh, see, this is why I always work with the pictures. But yeah, this is here. We'll just do it this way. Is that upside down? There we
No,
go.
that's it. Yeah.
There you
Yeah.
go. And just so you know, Dustin, this is a printed solid golden winner.
Golden winner. Oh, I know it from anywhere. Yep.
Yep.
Wow.
He my older son is in middle school. He does a lot of printing for his middle school friends, and they all want golden winner. It's like the best filament for middle schoolers. They love it
Wow.
for their octopuses and their Shrek crucifixes. Like they everything. They just want the golden winner.
Yeah, we actually did a run of golden winner. I forget what subscription number it is because we do have a subscription service for our filament. But we actually took the golden winter color and cut it down significantly. Instead of using the same ratio that we normally use, we used significantly less and ended up with a really translucent yellow. And it just had a tiny bit of the gold flake that just looked like it was kind of hovering inside when you would print something. So like
Hmm.
a bunch of guys at the shop printed Pikachu's and they looked really cool.
Oh,
But it's just crazy that this beautiful deep gold color is uh is actually just like a translucent yellow that's just packed in there. That's pretty
wow.
awesome.
I think I saw something on your Facebook or your Instagram of a transition roll from golden winter to Scion, and
Yes.
it looked amazing.
Yeah, we have some pretty like our line operators will be like, look at this. We should make this one of the mixtape colors, because they're always seeing the transitions from one color to another color. We've also been like, let's experiment and kind of see what comes out of this line, by just mixing some colors up and just kind of making a batch. They did some unicorn color where they did a really weird purpley blue color, and it was kind of weird to see where the blue started and the purple started, but it was such a odd color combination that it came out like really cool.
Hmm.
And playing with the neons too. The neons are crazy. We actually had one of the guys develop a neon that was one color when it was just sitting there, and then when you hit it with the neon light, it actually like turned neon green, which was crazy just because of
Wow.
the neon that's inside of it.
It sounds like something that would be good for maker chips, like that neon green.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
like
I would say
something
so.
hidden message inside.
That is cool.
No, Dustin, I noticed that. Oh my gosh, we're already coming onto our hour, which time always flies on these. Did you have any? Did you want to share your screen at all with anything?
uh, yeah. So I'll go ahead and share, and I kind of want to show some things in Fusion 360.
Sure.
Hmm.
I remember how to do this. Sorry, I took my glasses off. That's why I keep leaning in.
There's been times where uh, I'm leaning in and then I switch the camera and I'm Yeah, not very flattering. But
So
yep, hold on.
when
Oh,
I was when I was
there you
when I was designing this car, which is my last year's car, I actually designed this panel completely separate, as I wanted to get resolution out of it, because if I printed it on this side, it probably would have had decent resolution, just printed, stuck to the actual model. Um, but I wanted to print it flat so it actually had more of a cube shape to it. I wanted the actual 3D, it to actually run through and show the design better. So this is a detachable piece, and these are all detachable pieces that I would put
Hmm.
on later, just to make sure that I had the same type of. Where's my spacer at? Um, no legs. So that's just the key there. That hole that's right inside here is actually just a hole for the actual antennas to push into, um, and be able to snap in. But if it didn't snap in, I did use a little bit of 3D gloop all over it just to kind of get it seated inside there. Um, and of course went through and chamfered all the things, fillet because it's round. But I did add an angle to it just so my car kind of had a different center of gravity as it was going down the track.
Hmm.
This car that I got second place in the sponsor event, was actually very lightweight considering, because I actually designed it. I printed it like 8 times, and this final one that I was like, this is the one I'm taking with me. I just did a very light infill, and it was actually one of the lighter cars I had. But because of the design, it actually was able to move rather quickly. But as you can see, my I put at the very bottom of the vehicle is where my rods actually went into the car. I
Hmm.
did have a little bit damaging to this bottom part, so I took my soldering iron and kind of welded it back up, which the bottom looks ugly, but it's kind of the whole reason, from my past one, that I wasn't able to race at all. Um, but I was pinched for time, so I was like, "This is my final design. I'm just going with it." But I had to print it as fast as I could, so I I lost a bunch of weight. I didn't add any weights because I think they said, "Oh, we have some weights if you want to put them on there." I'm like, "No, it's okay." I was like, "I'm just putting this in the concourse class," and then we did the sponsor race and got to race, and then
go.
it
Boom.
won second place, and I was like, "Okay." Um, just being able to throw a design out there and, you know showcase what you've learned, and what you're doing is really awesome. So
Hmm.
I always suggest to people to just go ahead and try to design it. um, but yeah, so in Fusion 360 you can actually see, what different movements you've done to actually, what you've extruded, what you what you did mirror, because I do mirrors a lot, where I will do half of the car and actually, um, do the mirror so the second half of the body actually just reflects a mirror image. Almost everything was done in half and then duplicated that way. Um, but all the Fusion 360 files, I'm still using the free version of Fusion 360, and as you can tell through here, like when I did the TVA baton for, the Loki TV show, these um, these models, I just kind of, I want to make that, and I just kind of go and try to make it as best as I can,
Hmm.
Fun.
um, just to kind of get over there. But yeah, that's
Um,
kind of what I want to share on
yeah,
that one.
that's
Thank you.
the nail holes. I just want to say, like, if anybody needs any guidance, I usually put my nail holes like 2 millimeters or 3 millimeters above like the base of my car, and it's been working out. So I wouldn't go any further than that.
Yeah, yeah, because
Okay.
I definitely, every single year I kind of was way too high. Even this car was too high, and it's,
Yeah.
just I wanted the tire to barely come down, and then when it got on the track for the first time, I was like, oh no, I need to go lower. I thought I went lower with this one, but I didn't go low enough. But this one was actually my third car was finally low enough and actually able to race
Iteration, iteration, iteration. That's great.
every time.
Uh-huh.
All right. Well, I am. I I don't want to cut you off, Dustin, but you have done your required hour. If you
Yeah.
okay,
Uh, yeah, I'm good. I appreciate it. Thank you guys for having me on the show. This
well,
is
we're
awesome.
supposed to thank you.
Well,
Well,
I
That's
thank you
my
definitely.
first.
job. Is
Yes,
thank you
yes, very
for
much so.
coming. And then
Yeah,
we also like to thank everybody who was engaged in the chat that I had a little bit of trouble keeping up with. But thank you everyone for participating. And we hope to see, we'll all three be at 3D Printopia, which is coming up on September 28th and 29th in Bel
yes,
Air, Maryland.
yes.
And you can find me by the registration desk. You can find Dustin probably at the Printed Solid Prusa booth, right?
I'll be walking around. We're actually not at the show this year. So Prusa will be there, and myself and Dave will be there.
Oh, fun. So you'll
So I'll be there though. I'll be at the show for sure, walking around.
Wow.
okay. And
Well,
Lawrence will be walking around, but I think he's going to be 2 hours with me at the
volunteer.
registration
Yes,
booth at some point in time.
absolutely.
Yeah.
And then
And
also, no, yeah, I'll be there. I'm excited to be there. And Vicky, are you distributing the STL of what you've got around your neck there?
oh, that's oh gosh, Big Jano, big so someone did it on X and
Okay.
shared the files, and yeah, actually they're Lawrence size. This I sized down, so look, I can see my Hue Forge logo and
Uh-huh.
everything like
Uh-huh.
that. But it's supposed to be big with giant chains. It's called a 3D Printopia bling chain. Let me pull that up real quick so he
Okay.
um gets the proper. Oh, it's on things. I'm on the wrong site. Ah.
Mhm.
But you know what? The bottle is worth the wait. It's really nice that people are doing this kind of not like fan fiction but
Yeah,
uh
but still, but yeah, actively participating.
oh, my search isn't working. Oh, I know. I'll stalk myself on X. That's that's what I can do. Here we go. Boing. And you don't I know you're not seeing my screen, but you will in a minute. Here we
Yeah.
go. Come on. Open. Not there. Okay, there you go. Dun, 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 dun. Okay, and I will share. Thanks for hanging in there, everybody. So yeah, this
Yeah.
is what it's supposed to look like. So it's big and bulky
That's
with
neat.
these beautiful chains. But I have a smaller frame, so I went ahead and sized it down a little bit. But
Hmm.
here's our designer, Big Chano. I hope I'm pronouncing it right. And oh, you know what? I can
Hmm.
throw this into the chat too. One
Go
of
say
our
bye. Come on.
final parting gift.
Go. I will.
Wonderful.
Oh, and the doggy's
Dude, you
back.
got you got stuck. I got you. Hold on. Hold on. Whew, okay.
It's okay.
Yeah. She got wrapped up in the headphone cord.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm gonna put you full screen so
We're
we
gonna
can
say
see
bye bye. You
everything.
wanna come say bye? Can you wave at everybody, say bye bye.
Bye, Lacey.
Oh, you only came because of Chewy. Oh, because she got stuck in the headphone cord. Had to pull her out. But thank you guys so much. We'll
Thank you
see you
for
later.
coming.
Oh yes, and yes, thank you everyone. Hopefully
Yes.
we'll see some of you in 10 days. If you haven't yet, please buy your tickets in advance and just thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Enjoy.
Good
Thanks
night.
so much.